Her hand was on her swollen stomach, eyes narrowed into slits of pure venom. He sat next to her, smug as ever. Daniel, the guy she swore was just someone from the gym. My lawyer leaned over to whisper something, but I didn't hear a damn word. I was frozen, locked on her voice as it bounced off the courtroom walls like shards of glass. My husband, she still had the gall to call me that, left me when I needed him most. This baby is his. So yes, I deserve his money. I deserve support. I deserve everything. She turned and gave me a look so cold, glaciers would have backed away. Her new ring caught the light, massive, obnoxious, probably fake. She knew what she was doing, dragging me here, showing off her shiny new life while pretending I was some deadbeat trying to dodge responsibility. Daniel leaned over and whispered something in her ear. She laughed. I sat in silence. I didn't flinch, didn't blink, but I smiled. A calm, slow smile that made even the judge lean in. And that's when I said it, almost in a whisper. Your Honor, I wasn't going to do this. I slid my hand into my wallet and pulled out the envelope. But she left me no choice. Inside were photos, videos, screenshots. Not from a private investigator. No, I did this myself. I had to. Because nobody believed me when I said my wife was lying. That the baby wasn't mine. That she was sleeping around with half the city before she even filed the papers. I placed the envelope on the table with quiet precision, and her face went pale. Your Honor, I said, still calm, this child? It's not mine. She knows it. He knows it. And now, you will too. I locked eyes with her. Emily, my wife for 6 years. The woman who once cried in my arms after her mother died. The woman who told me she'd love me forever. Who said Daniel was just helping her stretch after workouts. The same woman who swore she'd never betray me, even when I started noticing the perfume that wasn't hers, the late nights, the sudden need to keep her phone locked. She looked at the envelope like it might explode. I almost hoped it would. She reached for it, but the bailiff beat her to it. The judge raised an eyebrow as he read through the DNA test results. Then the screenshots, text between her and Daniel, timestamps, pictures. One of them kissing in my goddamn car. Another of her laughing, in bed, next to a hotel nightstand I recognized all too well. Daniel's face turned purple. Emily leaned back and muttered, "You bastard." But I kept smiling. My heart was hammering, sure. But my face? Ice. Because this was the moment I waited for. Not revenge. Not even justice. Just truth. You stood in my house, I said aloud, mocking me for being too soft. You laughed behind my back. And now you think you can sit here, claim this child is mine, and steal from me again. Her voice cracked, but her tone stayed defiant. You think this changes anything? You still walked away. You're still nothing. The judge silenced her with a wave of his hand. Let me finish reading this before either of you speaks another word. She stared at me like she wanted to scream, but I just watched her. This was the woman I used to buy roses for every Friday. The woman I held when she had panic attacks. The one who convinced me to sell my motorcycle because we needed to think about a future together. That same woman looked me dead in the eyes in court today and tried to bleed me dry while carrying another man's child. And I still hadn't even told her the worst part. Not yet. You see, this was just the beginning. The real story didn't start here in court. No, it started the night I followed her. The night I saw the truth with my own eyes. The night that turned my heart into concrete. And if you think this is messy now, you have no idea what's coming. I never meant to follow her. That wasn't me. I was the kind of guy who trusted his wife, who gave her the benefit of the doubt even when my gut was screaming something else. But when you hear a moan through the phone at 11:47 p.m. after she accidentally calls you while she's working late, something snaps. I didn't even hang up. I just listened. Heavy breathing. Whispered giggles. Then silence. Then, her voice. Low. Sweet. Dripping with fake affection. You're way better than him. I sat in my truck, phone to my ear, parked 2 blocks from her office. I should have known when she took that job at the boutique design agency, sleek modern building, flexible hours, mostly male staff. She said she needed something for herself. What she needed was someone else's hands on her at midnight. I parked a little closer and killed the engine. Watched the front doors like a hunter in the woods. At 12:21 a.m., she came out. Her skirt was wrinkled, hair messy. That same perfume I didn't buy for her drifted on the wind as she laughed at something Daniel said. He was right behind her, shirt untucked, sleeves rolled up, like a walking cliché. And then, right there in the parking lot, they kissed. Not a polite peck. Not some oops, we're drunk mistake. This was deep, hungry, full-on betrayal. I wanted to tear the door off my truck and run at them. But I didn't. I watched. She pulled away and whispered something in his ear. He grabbed her waist. They both laughed. Then they walked to her car, my car, and drove off together. I sat there for another hour, trying to breathe, trying to convince myself I hadn't just seen what I'd seen. The next day, she came home around noon. Said she had to work on a pitch deck, whatever that meant. She kissed me on the cheek and went straight to the shower. I stared at the bathroom door and felt like I was standing in a stranger's house. This wasn't my Emily. This was someone else, someone I didn't know anymore. The gaslighting started slow. You're being paranoid. He's gay, by the way. You're embarrassing yourself. I stayed late because of a client meeting. Don't be weird. But the phone never left her hand. The passwords changed. And suddenly, every fight ended with her crying, her accusing me of controlling her. I started taking notes. Screenshots. Copies of her texts when she left her laptop open. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I waited. Because deep down, I knew she'd slip up. And boy, did she. It was a Thursday night. She said she was going to her friend Kelsey's place for wine and catch-up night. I knew Kelsey. Kelsey was in Aruba. So I followed her again. No tracker, no private eye. Just instinct and rage. She went to a hotel just outside the city. I watched her check in. 30 minutes later, Daniel strolled in like he owned the place. I rented the room across the hall. I didn't sleep. I didn't even sit. I waited by the peephole until morning. When they left, laughing like they were high school sweethearts, I felt nothing. Not rage. Not sorrow. Just empty. That weekend, I called my lawyer. Then I took the DNA test. It wasn't about revenge. Not then. It was about clarity. Truth. Something I hadn't had in months. And now, here we were, back in that courtroom, her belly swollen, her new husband at her side, and the truth sitting right there in an envelope she couldn't look at. She thought she had me. She thought she could stomp me into the ground and laugh while doing it. But this wasn't over. Not even close. Because I hadn't even shown the court the video yet. It was recorded 2 weeks before she filed for divorce. I had left a small camera on the dashboard of my old SUV. The one she borrowed every Thursday when her car was acting up. I never mentioned it again, just nodded every time she thanked me for being such a good guy. And she played her role perfectly, loving wife, tired woman, working late for our future. The footage showed them in that very SUV, parked in the back of a dimly lit lot behind a 24-hour laundromat. It was grainy but clear enough to see Daniel's hand on her thigh, her head on his shoulder, the two of them giggling like horny teenagers. She straddled him, right there, in the seat I drove my niece to school in. She was wearing my college hoodie. When I first saw that footage, I stared at the screen for 20 straight minutes. No blinking. No breathing. Just a dark pit in my chest expanding with every second. That hoodie had my name on it. She used to sleep in it when she missed me on business trips. And there she was, giving herself to another man, in the same fabric that held years of my love, my scent, my memories. And now she was asking for child support. For a baby that wasn't mine. For a life she destroyed with her own hands. Back in court, the judge skimmed through the documents again. His brow creased. Emily fidgeted. Daniel stared down at his phone like maybe the screen could teleport him out of the building. The silence was heavy, thick with truth and embarrassment. My lawyer leaned in and asked, "Should we submit the video?" I shook my head. Not yet. Let her sweat. The judge spoke. According to the paternity results, Mr. Blake Peterson is not the biological father of the child. And the communications provided, well, they speak for themselves. Emily stood up so fast the chair screeched. He manipulated those tests. He's lying. The judge didn't flinch. The test was administered through an approved lab and verified by the court. Sit down, Mrs. Kingsley. Mrs. Kingsley. She took his last name. That smug idiot beside her grinned like he just won a lottery. I'd like to see him grin when the second video drops. See, what Emily didn't know was that Daniel wasn't her only secret. There was another man. Or rather, a trail of them. DMs, hotel receipts, burner accounts. I uncovered it all in the weeks after I filed. She had needs, she once told me. I didn't excite her anymore. Apparently, the only thing that did was hopping from one guy to another, keeping them in rotation like a twisted game. After court recessed, she pulled me aside. Face all innocent, like we hadn't just spent 45 minutes watching her life crumble. You didn't have to go that far, she hissed. You're still hurting. That's why you're doing this. I stared at her for a beat too long. Hurting. I said. No. I did that already. Now I'm just watching you drown in the pool you built. She rolled her eyes, but her mouth twitched. The kind of twitch that said she finally realized she wasn't in control anymore. You think this is over? She whispered. You think this will stop me? You already stopped yourself, Emily, I replied. You just haven't hit the floor yet. She opened her mouth, but I walked away. Daniel tried to follow me out, probably to puff his chest and ask me to respect their relationship. I didn't give him the chance. I turned and said, you should ask her about the guy from Charleston, or the one from her yoga retreat. You're not her happy ending. You're just next. He froze. I kept walking. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck and let the silence wash over me. The same truck where I first heard her lie, where I first followed her, where I first saw the truth and still tried to believe the best in her. It was strange, the peace I felt. Not joy, not victory, just release. I stared at the envelope beside me, now stained with fingerprints and courtroom tension. And I knew this wasn't the end of the story. She'd try again. And next time, she wouldn't just want my money. She'd come for my reputation, my family, my peace. And I was ready. 3 weeks passed before I heard from her again. A knock on the door at 9:47 p.m. I looked through the peephole and there she was, Emily, standing like a storm that hadn't made landfall yet. Her hair was up, lips glossed, belly showing under a too-tight dress that screamed, pity me. I opened the door but didn't step aside. What do you want? She smirked, that same crooked smirk she wore the first time she lied to my face. You left some documents at the lawyer's. I thought I'd bring them by personally. She held up a manila folder. Clean. Unmarked. Probably empty. I said nothing. She tilted her head. You're not even gonna ask how I am? You're not my problem anymore. The words cut. She flinched, just slightly, before regaining her composure. She always had this talent, bending her face into whatever mask she thought would get her what she wanted. Tonight, it was faux sadness. You really think this is the life I wanted? She whispered. You think I planned any of this? No, I said. You didn't plan. You just did, Emily. Like you always do. No thinking. No consequences. Just wreckage. She stepped closer. You loved me once. I laughed. Yeah. I also loved Santa Claus once. The mask cracked. Her eyes narrowed, lips curling back. You know what your problem is? You always needed a reason to feel like a victim. Well, congratulations. Now you've got one. I stared at her. No, Emily. My problem was thinking you were worth saving. I shut the door in her face. No slamming. Just enough force to say this conversation is over. 10 minutes later, my phone pinged. Unknown number? You think you're untouchable? You'll see what happens when you make an enemy out of me. I stared at the message, then turned my phone over and placed it on the table. It had begun. She started with social media. A long, weepy post about being abandoned while pregnant, about how her ex-husband had emotionally abused her and refused to take responsibility. The comments filled up like gasoline to a flame. Her friends from yoga, her coworkers, even her mother joined in, calling me a coward, a monster, a cheater. The irony was almost artistic. I stayed silent, let her perform. But I had already spoken to my lawyer. And what Emily didn't know was that I recorded the conversation at the hotel parking lot the night I followed her. She confessed everything when she thought I wasn't listening. Even laughed about how easy it was to play me. I saved that audio file in 3 different places. Let her keep digging. A week later, a letter arrived. Subpoena. She was trying to reopen the case and demand backdated emotional damages tied to her pregnancy. She still insisted the child was mine, said she had new evidence and testimonies. I didn't blink. Daniel showed up at my job. I was walking to my car when I saw him leaning against the hood, arms folded like he was in a bad action movie. His eyes were red. He looked like hell. I need to talk, he said. I kept walking. He followed. She lied to me too. I stopped, turned. He looked like he was unraveling. She said the baby was mine. Now she's saying it's yours. But I saw the test. I know the truth. She's playing both of us. I nodded slowly. Welcome to the show. He looked around, paranoid. She's been disappearing at night. Comes home smelling like cologne. Not mine. Not yours either. I don't even think she knows who the real father is. I shrugged. Not my circus. She's dangerous, he whispered. She told her brother that you hit her. That's why they're coming after you. I stared at him. She had told her whole family I was violent, unstable, that she was scared of me. But I had text messages. I had voicemails. I had timestamped videos. And I had patience. This wasn't a sprint. It was a slow, brutal, deliberate war. Daniel reached into his coat pocket and handed me a flash drive. She left her laptop open last night. This has emails. And more. I don't want anything to do with her anymore. I took it. No words exchanged. Just understanding. She thought she had burned me down to ashes. She never realized I was already the flame. The flash drive sat on my kitchen table for an hour before I touched it. I poured a glass of whiskey, neat, turned off all the lights except the one over the counter, and stared at it like it might bite. When I finally plugged it into my laptop, it didn't just bite. It sunk its teeth into every last drop of hope I might have had left that Emily was just broken. No, she was calculated, rotten, surgical in the way she destroyed people. Inside the drive were emails between her and at least 4 different men. 4. Each with their own timeline, their own hotel receipts, their own can't stop thinking about last night exchanges. One of them? Married. Another? Her boss. And tucked between them all was a spreadsheet, an actual spreadsheet, where she kept notes on who had money, who was the easiest to manipulate, and who she could use to leverage sympathy in court. Next to my name, under the column Assets/Usefulness, she'd written, "Good job. Stable income. Emotional pushover. Believes anything with a few tears." There it was. My entire existence in her world, summed up in 9 words. I closed the laptop and leaned back. The room was dead silent, but inside me, something cracked. Not shattered. Not exploded. Just split clean down the middle. I was done grieving. This wasn't pain anymore. This was clarity. The next day, I called my lawyer and gave her the flash drive. By the afternoon, we had filed for defamation, emotional fraud, and were preparing a restraining order. I wasn't just playing defense now, I was striking back. Emily showed up again a few days later. No warning. No text. Just banged on the door like a cop with a warrant. I opened it. She was crying this time. Real tears, smudged mascara, lips trembling. She held a sonogram photo like it was a weapon. "Please," she said. "I don't want to fight anymore. Can't we talk?" I didn't even glance at the photo. "Sure," I said. "Let's talk." She looked stunned that I agreed. I stepped outside, shut the door behind me, and crossed my arms. She started slow. "I've been thinking about us. About everything. Maybe we rushed into the divorce. Maybe we made mistakes. Both of us." I laughed once, dry. "I made a mistake, all right. I married you." Her face twisted, but she kept going. "Daniel's not who I thought he was. He's been rough, controlling. I don't feel safe with him. And the truth is the truth." I cut in. "You wouldn't know the truth if it crawled inside your perfect little designer handbag and bit you." She blinked. "I'm carrying your child. You're not even carrying your own dignity." She snapped then. The soft facade shattered like a mirror. "You smug piece of you think this is over? You think your little court games scare me? I can ruin you. I will ruin you." I stepped closer, leaned in. "You already tried. And all you did was show the world what you are." She raised her hand. Whether to slap me or make a point, I don't know. But I grabbed her wrist before she could finish the motion and slowly lowered it. "Go home, Emily," I said, "before you end up burying yourself deeper than you already have." She stood there for a second, trembling. Then she spun on her heel and stormed off. 2 days later, the video leaked. Not by me. Someone anonymous. Maybe Daniel. Maybe one of her discarded assets. It was on Reddit first, then TikTok, then shared through Facebook like wildfire. The SUV footage. The audio. The spreadsheet. By the end of the week, she'd been fired. Daniel left her. Her friends ghosted her. Even her own sister messaged me to apologize. "You didn't deserve that," she said. None of it. I didn't reply. I just kept living. And Emily? She tried to fight back. Tried to sue for emotional distress. But her reputation was already in ashes, and no court wanted to touch her case with a 10-foot pole. That was the moment I realized something profound. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about justice. It was about freedom. The kind you earn, not by destroying someone, but by letting them destroy themselves, while you simply refuse to carry the wreckage anymore. The silence after the storm was deafening. For the first time in months, I could hear myself think without rage clouding every word. I started sleeping again, not great, but real sleep, without nightmares of courtroom stairs, betrayal, or muffled voices in dark parking lots. I even started running. Just 5 minutes at first, around the neighborhood. No music. Just my shoes on the pavement and the sound of my own breath. It felt good to move forward physically when everything else had been stuck in rewind. But Emily wasn't done. One morning, around 6:15 a.m., I stepped outside to grab the paper. Yeah, I still read it the old way, and found a vandalized message sprayed across my garage in red paint. Liar. Abuser. Father of nothing. I didn't call the cops. I didn't even clean it. I left it there for a full day so the entire neighborhood could see it. Because what she didn't realize was, the more she screamed, the more people started asking questions. And the more they looked, the more they found. My neighbor, Mrs. Klein, an 80-year-old woman who baked cookies for the block, walked up to me that afternoon and said, "She's not well. You need to be careful." I nodded, smiled politely. I know. I'm being careful. But inside, I was already moving pieces. My lawyer filed for a formal no-contact order. We had video evidence of harassment, text threats, and now property damage. I handed over every file, every message, every voicemail. I built a wall of truth so high even she couldn't climb over it. 3 nights later, I got a call from Daniel. I debated answering, but curiosity got the better of me. His voice was low, shaky. "She's gone. Like, gone. Took off in the middle of the night. Left her wedding ring on the sink and everything. No note." I waited. Then he added, "She drained my savings account." Of course she did. He started breaking down over the phone, sobbing like a man who finally saw the demon he invited in. "I believed everything she said about you. I thought you were the bad guy." I said, to myself. Then I hung up. I didn't need to say more. Let him sit with it. Let that truth marinate in his bones like it did mine when I saw that first video. A week passed. Then 2. And slowly, Emily vanished. No online posts. No messages. Not even rumors. She became a ghost in the town she used to rule with designer heels and crocodile tears. Her Instagram, once a highlight reel of fake happiness, was wiped clean. All that remained was a blank bio and a silent profile picture. And me? I started putting the pieces back. It wasn't easy. I had to relearn how to be alone. How to trust myself after trusting a stranger wearing my wife's face for so long. But I was getting there. One night, I sat on the back porch, glass in hand, and thought about it all. The betrayal, the lies, the court, the chaos, and the smile. That smile I gave her in court when I dropped the envelope. It wasn't about revenge. It was about power, taking mine back. She thought she broke me, but all she did was reveal who I'd been sleeping beside for 6 years. And now? Now I was finally wide awake. I picked up my phone and typed a note to myself. Never let anyone convince you that love makes you weak. Real love for yourself makes you unstoppable. I stared at those words for a while. Then I hit save. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt whole. The next chapter of my life didn't come with fireworks or grand revelations. It came quietly, like a warm breeze through a cracked window at sunrise. You don't notice it right away. You're just sitting there one day, and you realize you're not angry anymore. You're not bracing for the next blow. You're just living. But closure? That came in the most unexpected way. It was a Wednesday afternoon when I got the letter. Handwritten. No return address, just my name. My first instinct was to toss it. Then I saw the handwriting. Flowing cursive. Familiar. Emily. I opened it with a knife I used to keep for letters and packages. Funny how small, stupid rituals survive even the worst wars. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded twice. No perfume, no lipstick, just ink on paper. Blake. I don't expect you to forgive me. Honestly, I hope you don't. Because if you did, it would mean you're still the man I manipulated. And you're not. Not anymore. You saw me. You saw all of me, and instead of falling apart, you made me answer for it. That's more than most men would have done. Most would have broken. I left Daniel. I left the city. I left the lies behind, or at least, I'm trying to. The baby isn't his. Or yours. I don't even know the guy's last name. That's the truth. Finally. I didn't write this to ask for anything. I don't want you to respond. I just wanted you to know that I was wrong. About everything. Especially you. Emily. No apology. No signature of remorse. Just a weird mix of confession and closure. I read it twice. Then folded it and tucked it into the back of the drawer where I keep things I never want to see again but can't quite throw away. Like my dad's broken watch. Or my wedding ring. Later that night, I stared out the window. Same backyard. Same fence. Same porch light flickering like always. But something in the air had shifted. Not because of her letter, but because I didn't need it. Not really. My healing hadn't come from her regrets. It came from finally believing myself again. Trusting my instincts. My decisions. My worth. I got into therapy not because I was falling apart, but because I didn't want to carry any of this into whatever came next. I started writing again. Cooking. Calling people back. Laughing at things without guilt. Being me, without trying to be the version of me someone else required. And eventually, someone new showed up. Her name was Rachel. We met at a bookstore, both reaching for the same old copy of The Great Gatsby. She smiled and let me take it. I offered her coffee. She said yes. It wasn't fireworks. It was peace. And peace, after war, feels better than love. Rachel asked me once if I'd ever been married. I told her yes. Told her it ended badly. She didn't press. Just nodded and said, "You seem like someone who learned a lot from it." I smiled. I did. Because I did. I learned that lies don't rot in silence, they multiply. I learned that betrayal doesn't just hurt, it rewires your brain. But more than anything, I learned that love, real love, starts with self-respect. It's not about grand gestures or promises made in candlelight. It's about staying when things get hard, and knowing when to leave when they get cruel. Emily didn't break me. She revealed me. And what I found underneath all that pain was a man I actually respect. And that's more than I ever had with her. Months turned to a year. By then, the court cases were over, the noise had died down, and the world had moved on. No more late-night calls, no more passive-aggressive texts, no more sudden knocks on the door. Just silence. Beautiful, heavy silence. One night, I took a drive with no destination. Just me, the road, and a playlist I hadn't touched since everything fell apart. Somewhere between towns, I pulled over at an old overlook where Emily and I used to stop on road trips. We'd sit on the hood, drink gas station coffee, watch the stars, talk about the future like it was a movie we were writing together. But none of that future happened. And thank God for that. I stepped out, leaned against the hood of the car, different car now, different life, and stared at the stars like I did back then. Only now, I wasn't imagining anything. I was remembering. The lies. The fake smiles. The way she made me question my own sanity. The way I begged for scraps of love while she gave everything to strangers. And the way I found myself again in the wreckage she left behind. If I'm being honest, there's still a scar. Of course there is. No one walks away from betrayal untouched. But scars are reminders, not curses. They tell you where you've been, what you've survived, who you'll never be again. I reached into the glove compartment and pulled out the wedding ring, still in its case, untouched. I held it for a second, then opened the door, walked to the edge of the overlook, and without saying a word, threw it into the darkness. I didn't wait for the sound of it hitting the ground. I didn't need it. I stood there for another minute, breathing in the cold air, letting it fill every inch of me like a reset button had been pressed somewhere deep inside. Back in the car, my phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. "Dinner tomorrow?" I smiled. Typed back. "Can't wait." Then I put the car in drive, turned up the music, and headed home, not to a house haunted by lies, but to a place that finally felt like mine. If you're reading this and you've been where I was, if you've been lied to, torn apart, made to feel like less than human by someone who swore they loved you, remember this. You don't get stronger by pretending it didn't hurt. You get stronger by walking through it, step by bloody step, until you've left the fire behind. And when you finally come out the other side, you won't just be healed. You'll be reborn. And that version of you is someone no one will ever be able to break again.